Do we want to do the goalie thing real quick? The $7 million per?
Sure.
Yeah. Don't love it. I don't like it. I like Jeremy Swayman. I don't love Jeremy Swayman. And I think you have to love a guy. To pay him the 5th most money among all goaltenders right now. So I don't love it. I want to see some more. It's a big postseason for him, I feel. You know, you can say what you want about Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman. The one thing that neither one of them has done is prove it in the playoffs. Their numbers are pretty close. And I don't think Swayman was put in a great spot last year.
No, he
but
wasn't.
you got to see something there from that. So I understand it, but I'm like, ooh, I'd still like to see a little bit more.
I don't understand how you, and listen, I'm a big Jeremy Swayman fan, but I don't understand how you could talk about committing that kind of money to a guy who's currently in a rotation.
Right.
He's not an established number one goalie for this team. I wish they would. You know what I've said to you before, Ty. Like, I'd trade Linus Ullmark yesterday and see what you really have in Jeremy Swayman. And I felt like this was going to be the year to do that. I think this team is overachieved in a lot of ways, despite all these collapses, which we'll get to. But I thought this would have been the time to do it. And they didn't really commit to that. That's not what they did. So I don't know how you can then commit to that kind of money.
Yeah, by definition, they haven't shown $7 million worth of faith in him.
Right.
Right.
They don't believe that about him right now. How are they going to believe that in him for next year and beyond? I don't get it.
So if you go back to 20...
Maybe I'm doubting Jimmy Stewart's phone by saying that a little bit. Maybe.
Well, I think they'd like to get...
What's the hit rate on that phone?
So here's what I know.
On that phone.
So here's what I know about. So I was told, hey, the Bruins and Jeremy Swayman are going to have a tough negotiation. I was told that at the beginning of the year.
He's already pissed off at them.
Yeah.
So you have that. His agent, Louis Gross, is a guy that I've been told really digs in for his clients and establishes a value and says, nope, this is what our guy's worth. This is what he's worth.
Good agent.
And now that you don't have arbitration, or I mean you do, but you like to avoid that, it makes it harder, right? And so I think that you look at it from that standpoint, but let's go back to 2012-13. Tuukka Rask takes a 1-year bet on himself kind of contract because he had an injury-shortened year the season before. He's second, I believe, in the Vezina that year, and he takes you to the Stanley Cup final. And then he got the bag. It's like you need to see something like that, I think, of Jeremy Swayman for me to be like, yep. And I'm not saying he's got to go to the Stanley Cup final, but I got to see some major progress that he can be the number one because guess what? If you're paying a guy $7 million, he has to be a number one. He can't be, we're going to play him 45 games and make sure he's fresh. Like, no, you're the guy. When you make $7 million, you're the guy. So I got to see some more of that, I think, from Jeremy Swayman.
Who's the kid in Providence? He's pretty good. Like, he could potentially be the backup.
Yeah,
like
Brandon,
next year, looking ahead to next year.
So
like,
Brandon Bussey, they have to make a call on him because beginning next year, he requires waivers. Right now, you can send him up and down without waivers, but beginning next year, if you call him up, you got to keep him here, essentially, or someone can grab him for free. So they're nearing decision time with him as well. I liked his preseason, but he's a guy that, again, I'd like to see in the NHL but before the end of the year. I got to know. When you do these things where you just call a guy up and say, no, he's good, that's when you get into trouble.